Welcome to Living Life Gospel. Real life, real talk, real hope. Every show. Join us every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. as we discuss topics relating to life, church, family, education, and so much more. Invite a friend. Tag them even. But don't you dare miss the show. Living Life God's Way. Every Thursday at 6:30 p.m.
Good evening. Welcome to Living Life God's Way. We're glad you're here with us. As you can see, I'm undercover this evening.
I don't know.
So this evening we're continuing our discussion on Where Are the Gentlemen? This is part 2. This evening we're going to focus on mothers raising sons, single mothers raising sons. And we're going to have a discussion. We're going to give some advice, some do's and some don'ts. You mothers who listen out for this, you're going to get it. Good. I mean, you're going to get good advice this evening. So we want to welcome you. We're glad that you are with us, and we hope that you enjoy the program. Ladies, Dr. Colleen, Elder Sheridan, let's say hi to our people.
Good evening. Good evening. I just want to know what's going on with this house. I need to know.
Curiosity.
Yeah. So good evening and welcome. As Pastor Brian said, the show tonight is all about still on the topic of where are the gentlemen and raising gentlemen, but from the aspect of single parents or single mothers specifically. As we know, there's a high percentage of households that are headed by just women, and so we're going to look into that a little bit deeper.
Okay, good evening. I'm so glad to have you with us at this point. And you know what? We always ask you to share the link with friends, those who would benefit from this discussion. Stay tuned and let's get the show on the way.
For sure, and we're so excited. Please share your comments with us. We'll be glad to see them and hear your thoughts. So the reason for wearing my hat is I was thinking today was so hot.
Oh.
And it was so hot here in Barbados. If you were living in another country, it was just hot. Ridiculously hot. So my hat protected my head. So I was like, you know what? Why not wear the show? So I was gonna see like,
What it feels. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh man, I thought it was
So
something like
small,
really
right?
something juicy and this that.
So we're glad to have you this evening. We're gonna just feature our sponsors for a few moments, and then we're gonna come right back this evening with our discussion on where are the gentlemen. And as we said this evening, we are focusing on moms or ladies raising sons by themselves. So we will give some advice and so on. So please stay with us. We'll be right back on Living Life God's Way.
Impacting lives, choose life, sharing love to everyone. Impacting lives, choose life, sharing joy through the gospel of Jesus, gospel of Jesus, gospel of Jesus Christ.
Hi, so welcome back to our program. Welcome back to Living Life God's Way, as we are talking about the gentleman. And today we are talking about single moms raising sons. So, Elder Charlene, let's do this definition again on what
Yes.
gentlemen are, so
Yeah.
that we are clear.
Certainly, yeah. So the first definition is chivalrous, courteous, or honorable man. And another one we had, a polite or formal way of referring to a man. And another one, a man whose conduct conforms to a high standard.
All right.
Yes.
So, Doc, you want to throw in the definition?
No,
You sure?
that's is that in-house.
You may have one, you know.
Not today.
Not today, okay. Just a second. You're educated and everything. All right, so we know in today's world, and it has been going on for a while, sometimes we make things seem a little bit more than they are, because moms were raising sons for a long time by themselves. And this evening we want to talk about that. We want to talk about, is it wise, or, and I mean, in some cases you can't do any better. It's the hand that has been handed to you, or because of some kind of disagreement, or so on and so forth. There are different reasons why females raise sons by themselves. Ladies, you want to start on it?
I hear a little question coming out there. Is it wise? And as you correctly say, for some single moms, we had no choice. But I'll take it first from those who do have a choice, in the sense that I'm realizing it seems like it's a style where women are saying they don't need men anymore, and all they want is the sperm, and so they want a child because that's what their desire to be a mom. So they just want the child and then deliberately leave out the guy. Right?
Now that you've said that, I'm going to ask a question.
Go ahead.
You know the question?
This conviction coming across.
So, this question came in my head when you said that.
Okay.
So, about sperm and donating sperm and stuff like that. So, is it wise for a female to go to a sperm bank, get, being impregnated, how they do their thing, and have a child, and the child is a boy?
Wow.
Turns out to be a boy.
Wow. That's a tricky one.
That's
I'm
a
not
tricky
sure
one?
about this.
And I'm not sure.
It's
a second
yes.
I'm not sure, and I can't say yes or no. Reason being, I don't know what are the circumstances.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what. And I've heard of couples who you had the father guy is there, but due to some situation on his part, they have to end up going to the whatever. But I can't give a judgment call. But what I can say this for the young women who seems to be picking up this style because the media have projected it, where you have the successful mom and she's just with a son and she doesn't want the father in the picture deliberately. I'm saying it's not wise to do that.
Right.
Because the first thing you have to realize, he is of the male gender. He is a complete different person to you in the sense of the way they think and reason and feel things. And while you may be dressing them up, making sure they look fantastic, that young child needs a male figure, right? So all of these things you need to factor in. And then on the other hand, those who may have been because of divorce or whatever, or death, you have to raise the son now. You have to take on a better understanding of what's your role, understanding the child, which we can look at later on in terms of tips to raising sons. So whichever one, you have to put your mind frame in a way that you're going to look after your son. And the one point I'll raise before I move on is what we raised last week. When you have a boy in the house, don't make him the man of the house. And it's an inclination. Sometimes you don't ask them to, but the boy or the son just naturally feel, well, I'm the only male in the house, I'm in charge. It's like, nope, focus on being the child. We will work out the rest. So that's the one point I was dropping there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doc?
Circling back to your question about women going to, clinic and getting pregnant, what have you. I want to pose a kind of counter question to that. What would be the difference in the situation where a woman is married and she's pregnant, and then the husband subsequently passes before the child is born.
Mhm.
Okay, so then she raises the child
Mhm.
on their own. What would be the difference in a woman going to a clinic and making that choice for herself? Because the only difference is that one wasn't out of choice and one is
Exactly.
choice.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the situation in terms of raising a son on their own is the
Mhm.
same.
Yeah.
So what would be the difference?
I don't think parenting is parenting. It's just the circumstance, right? It's just the
But doesn't-
mindset.
But in this circumstance,
Uh-huh.
doesn't matter.
That's
Because-
why I'm asking.
Right. Because I think the circumstances matter.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of the preparation that goes into the artificial insemination.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if they do research and say, okay, this is the family tree of the sperm that you're getting. This is
Put in selection. You
Right.
don't know who the person is. You
You
can ask for specifics.
right. So I don't know if that is done. I hope that it is,
Mhm.
because you have to.
You don't get any random.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
'cause
Yeah,
have
you
to
make a
consider-
choice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Because
you
you have
make
to
a
consider
choice.
a lot of dynamics.
Correct.
And so on. And so I just asked that question because I know that for some persons it is a route that they will take, and the extension is now you are a single parent
Mhm.
because you made the choice to be single. I mean, you made a choice to have a child without a partner. So now automatically you are a single parent versus that somebody gets divorced
Mhm.
or somebody dies, or because you have the dynamic of death as well
Mhm.
that you have to consider. But I'm sure Shirley raised a good point when she said that it is important for the child, the male child we are speaking about this evening, to have a male present. It doesn't have to be a boyfriend. It doesn't have to be, different
Yeah.
titles, but have somebody present in that child's space, because that the boy needs to learn how to be a man, which cannot be taught by a female
Correct.
in any form or fashion. And I know I've heard comments where mom said, I've been mother and father to this child, but you can't be both, and a solid female, solid male, whether it's grandfather,
Mhm.
because one of the things I realize about us men, boys, that we don't ask questions when it comes to mentorship. We look.
Mm.
So we more learn, we are very visible, visual, sorry. So we look. So if somebody can mentor you and you not say a word as a male, somebody could be, you can be learning from them and you've never asked them a question in your life.
Yeah.
So we look at others and we learn from them. But if the mom is raising the son alone, I think it is important for her, particularly if the father has passed, to have someone in the child's space. You don't have to tell him, oh, this is your mentor,
Mhm.
or this person, you can
Mhm.
look up to this person, but have the child there in that space.
Exactly.
You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? Have the
Mhm.
child in that space. So the child, the male, he's in the space with this male, he is looking at this person. And some boys pretend that they're not looking, right? But they're
Yeah.
looking. They're
Mhm.
very observant. And so you only realize that they're looking when something happens and you hear them say something like the person.
Mhm.
And I've seen that a lot. So I think, like I was just adding to your point, I was sharing that I think it's very important for that son to have that male figure
Mhm.
there that he can have an idea. These are things that men do, and so on, and have some sort of example
Yeah.
to follow.
But if going back to your question again about the woman who goes to the clinic,
Mhm.
why, if she goes to the clinic, could she not still have that same setup? She could still have a male role model that's in the family,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
presence in the child's life. I think the judgment is kind of how the child is being conceived.
Right.
People might say, oh, you shouldn't make that choice to be a single parent,
Right.
rather as opposed to becoming a single parent.
Right.
But for me, I'm more concerned about how the child is raised and the parenting for that child rather than how the child is
All right.
conceived.
Going back, if I could,
Yeah.
just quick, going to your same point. It's not the parenting. My thing I was saying for the mindset. Reason being, from what I've heard and observed, there are some who go on to say, see me, I don't need a man, or the men are no good. They're very critical of men. So they isolated that element and they say, but I still want to be a mom.
Yeah.
So what they go through this, either artificial or whatever have you. But the bottom line is, you end up having a son. If you have that mindset, then it can harm the development of
That's
the
why I
child.
said
That's
it's about the parenting. The parent is the type of parenting that the child has, which is important, not necessarily how the child is conceived, because there could be parents, there could be married couples who have children and the father's still in the house, but it's not being fathered. So, for me, it's about how children are parented. As you said, the mindset of the person, so that's all part of parenting, because there's different styles of parenting according to the person's mindset.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what I would like people to be focused on, even whether you agree or disagree with how a child is conceived. Because even, as I said, I know people who are married and what have you, their marriage is atrocious. And you think, please don't bring children in until you guys fix it. But they still bring the child into it and you're hoping that will be the fix. And it's not. So, as you can say, I'm an advocate for single mothers. Because I just think, not that you should necessarily, my personal opinion is, I don't think women actively go out necessarily to be single mothers. For whatever reason it happens, there are women who make that decision and go to IVF and what have you, and that's fine. But I think generally women want their children in a two-parent environment, but situations happen and it doesn't work out that way. So my concern, as from a youth work background, from an education background, is how the child is parented in whatever situation, whether it's single mother, single father, two-parent, adopted, foster, whatever. It's how the child is parent, which is the challenge that we're seeing. It's not necessarily the structure, it's the parenting and the mindset of the parents or the guardians that needs to be called into question.
I agree.
I agree as well. And I think what needs to be considered is more so the dynamics of the growth and development of the child, and where the child needs daddy, because we're talking about sons here. And if you're not joining us, we're talking about moms raising sons, single moms raising sons. Because we have dynamics where the dad has moved overseas and child is now with his mom alone. And one of the things I found about males is you start seeing some sense of rebellion when stuff like this happens, where the child starts they snaps quickly, you get your anger, you just blow a fuse because you were never taught to process things. Like you ladies are taught, when you're growing up, help me wash the dishes and stuff like that. When the meal is not part of this, then what do I do when you're washing the dishes and stuff like that? However, one of the points I wanted to make, and this is for the ladies, single moms, is to be very careful when you and the dad is no longer in a relationship or getting along. I found a lot of sons hurt because of moms being better moms. So when they're upset or they may cry because of relationships going down the drain or whatever, and then they'll go to their sons and they say, your father is this or your father is that. That's very dangerous, a dangerous thing to do. And I find that because if one parent isn't steady, and let's say the dad is the one who moved, then the stability of the child becomes an issue. I find children need stability and consistency in their lives, and whether or not the dad is a whatever, he's still the child's dad.
Anyhow,
And when persons are attacking, or when the mom is attacking the dad because of what has happened, then you're putting your child at a disadvantage by what you're saying and by what you're doing. So you're saying, well, moms have to be mindful of that. However, going back to the point where we were talking about, if not having this male figure there, you need to find someone who can be in the child's space. And things like taking the child to church is important because the presence of the male. Some may say there's not a lot of males in church, but there are males. And you can take the child to church and stuff like that. Some people join youth organizations and karate clubs and so on. All of these are places where the child can be taught without asking any questions, and the single mom can study someone like, okay, I realize that this person has gone through some stuff. They know how to do this, and I think that my son can benefit from this person, being in a person's space and stuff like that. I think that's important, and the mom's eyes have to be open wide to see the kind of influence that you will want your child to have. And as I said, because males don't speak about these kind of things, we think that they're not being mentored, but they are being mentored. Our sons are being mentored by music. They're being mentored by gangs. They're being mentored by all kind of things. So, and all kind of people. So I think that it's important for, if you're a single mom, ladies, to make sure that your son is in a space where there's a good, strong, healthy male who can give some guidance and like I said, it may not necessarily be a one-on-one, but if you like, there are a lot of guys who want to be like their coach. They see their coach training, being strong. He knows how to speak. He's firm. He looks like he's built and everything. Or I want muscles like my coach. Or I think that boys need to have that person that is there before them that they can look at and see, I can be like this person. And it doesn't make mom less of a mom, because you're doing it by yourself. It doesn't make less of a mom. You're saying, this is a part of my son's life that I cannot do. I cannot influence because I'm not a male. So I need to have him in that space where there's somebody who he can look up to and have an idea how to behave. Because as we were discussing some time ago, social behavior, and this is why a lot of boys are, when they are out, they cuss, fight, and stuff like that, because they don't know how to behave when they are not culturalized by male. Case in point, child does something wrong. Daddy, come and deal with him.
Correct.
Boy, what are you doing? And the behavior changes. So I think that those dynamics happen.
Because as they were saying that the female, we tend to be more nurturing.
Right.
And so that's our strength. And then when it comes to the male, they're more firm when it comes to be giving out discipline. I'm not saying that women cannot give discipline, but there's something when a man does it, right? And so it's important that we recognize the role. And as we were asking a while ago, where are the gentlemen? So it means now, if you are a single mom, it means now you have to take on the responsibility of now training your son. Or sometimes you might be walking around and you see a man help cross a lady, and you'll say, look at this man, you saw what he did? He took time from what he was doing and look across the woman. Or he said, oh, look at this man, he opened the car door.
You in this car door.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But
That
you
is
see
true.
examples around when you're driving. Oh, look at this man. Look, he dresses well. He takes time to iron his clothes. Look, wow.
Right.
And so you highlight certain things that you see around him. So you're helping your son identify with good practices or best practices. So it's not like you turn a blind eye and you're going about life, but you bring it out, because regardless of how much you desire to be a fantastic mom, and I knew that was it because I even learned to play football with my son. I'll be outside. I used to play football with him. When it came a certain age, I realized, geez, boy, certain things that he need, I can't, you know. So that was, as you were saying, that was when I tried to identify guys in my space who I knew and I felt comfortable with.
Right.
Decided they get closer or they, you know, without making an announcement.
Right.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah,
no, but sometimes they make that announcement like, if you owe me,
Yeah.
what?
It's too much.
It's
Yeah,
too
it's
much.
too
I
much,
took-
yeah.
You know, I tried it once, you know, long time. Sometimes I said, oh, just, you know, to be like a, you know, like a father figure.
Mhm.
Just fun, nothing, you
Yeah.
know. From time I said that, it's like he
Shut up.
shut up,
Yep.
disappears.
Yeah.
I say, see that?
Why would you
You
do
know,
that?
because I didn't know.
No,
it.
that's
Yeah.
no, that's the
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah,
would you do that?
I was
Yeah.
more exactly. I was more concerned about, you know, him, my son getting an example, but
Right.
that responsibility scares off. And you know,
Absolutely.
absolute like fathering is something that when you find out you're having a child, you condition your mind.
Right.
So you can imagine a person off the street didn't expect, and you're asking for that. So you allow the child to meet these persons, or in my case, even if the child goes to a private school, a boys' school, where the head person, he's a male. Up to now, he still speaks with him, right? So all of these, in other words, your word, you have to be more intentional about what you do as a mom, you know. And one other thing I remember talking to him, because sometimes children or boys feel, oh, I'm a failure, oh, I can't do this because I don't have a father. Then
Right.
you go on the internet, look for successful men, successful in that they know how to carry themselves and they made impact, they either got money and they were able to contribute to the community. He didn't have a father, but he's going on all right. This one didn't have it, but he's going on. You're not saying that is his style, but you're showing that in spite of what
Yeah,
you might
yeah.
think is an obstacle,
Yeah.
you can still make it. You can still make an impact. You know, so you have to look around and help them see things that are going on,
Yeah.
so that they can continue this growing process.
Very
Yeah.
true.
Definitely.
Very true. This is the comment here.
No, go ahead.
Beverly says, sadly, though, often the men in church don't mentor. Sometimes because they themselves feel lost.
Correct.
So there was a single grandmother to a boy whose mom died, and I hope that one of the men in church would have mentored, and it didn't happen. And unfortunately, this is a true reality, or a real reality, with stuff like this happening. And I believe that we are so conditioned in the world that if it does not affect me, it doesn't matter to me. And so we will have sometimes where our men are in church sitting down and they will never take the responsibility for, you see a young man growing up and be in that young man's space.
Yeah.
I find simple things like asking, "What's up, man? How are you doing?" Giving them a nod and so on, help draws them into you. Because one of the things I realized that young men are more standoffish. The generation that we're living in,
Yeah.
they're more standoffish than they would reach out.
Yeah.
So they would watch and see, like, can I trust this person?
Yeah.
and, can I share and stuff like that?
Mhm.
If I did, what will happen? Because sometimes the age gap is also a problem, because I see you like your father, or I see you with this person who is so far removed from me, and that's why I think the mom getting involved with helping the single mom, that's referred to, getting involved in helping putting that son in the right environment so that this person can have some impact on their lives. And like you would have just mentioned, you go with someone who didn't grow up with much and didn't grow up with mommy and daddy, but they still are progressive, and I think that's important. Where sons learn how to be progressive, and sons learn how to have purpose, and have function. Because when a boy, it is terrible when a man doesn't have purpose. The Bible says without a vision, the people perish. So as the young man grows and he's growing, then he sees someone who has vision and someone who has purpose and he's able to come into that place, or you have at least he has an example to follow versus not having anyone.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, if you don't find someone for them, they will find someone for themselves. And because they're not in a place of, they can't act in wisdom because they don't have the experience. So then they will choose who is in their space, and next thing they will choose is somebody like a drug lord, right? Because they're shown love by this male. I'll protect you and stuff like that. So then, okay, cool. Well, this person was loyal to me, so I'm going to be loyal to them.
Yeah.
So I think that's important for, single moms to be conscious of this and not think that you can do the male part by yourself, the male coaching, the male mentoring, and stuff like that. And as we were saying earlier, it is not that you are saying, look, here is John. I want John to mentor you. John, mentor Gary. It's not that. It is, I just want you to be in this space so that you will see. And moms can be tactful about it as well. So that, you don't necessarily have to say something, because as soon as you say something, the walls are going to go up. And then you have, what are the expectations and so on, and as we were alluding to what Beverly said, unfortunately, it happens over and over and over and over, because the man doesn't see it as their role to help. But or maybe they can go to a guy and say, listen, I don't want to say anything to my son, but I would like you to be present. It's like, maybe you can call him, ask him how he's doing. Maybe you can, sometimes you guys can go have a drink or whatever. Because you're putting them in a space where and you're getting some testosterone, instead of getting all of the
I just find that quite fascinating that I know we're talking about mothers and boys, but to kind of give a visual, when a man is looking after a daughter, there's lots of questions. You need any help? How are you doing? There's a lot of support given, and a woman will kind of step in, or someone will be identified, and it's the same. It's the same process. The same way a man cannot do everything for his daughter. It's the same concept for mothers and sons. But we just seem to have this perception that the woman can do it all. Either from the mother herself or from society. And just going on from your point, Pastor, we can't. You can't. Male and female for a reason. We have different traits. We have different strengths, and we have different purposes. And one of the things that I've raised before, and I think you mentioned it last session about men's egos and respect and so on. When doing research about, obviously raising a son on my own, it was this book, which I'm not sure if we can promote it or anything, but this particular book that I read, which is called Mother and Son: The Respect Effect, talked about mothers not respecting their sons. And that was the major issue, or the major difference, because mothers, we said about nurturing, it's all about kind of love, and they do the hugs and the kisses and be there if the child is sick and all the rest of it. But if you're on your own, there's a dynamic that's missing, which is the father figure. And so one of the things that this book recommends is that women don't necessarily show the respect to their sons. So it's not about making the man of the house or anything like that. And I think there's a bit of a quote from the book. It says, we all realize that little girls need their daddy's love, but no one is promoting the truth that little boys and adult ones need their mum's respect. So no wonder mothers feel left in the dark on this topic. What makes this issue all more urgent is that mums are coaching fathers to love their daughters, but no one has coached a mum on specific ways to show respect to their sons. And that is so true. We always talk about, mothering, it's a natural instinct. You just get up, you just do it, and that's fine. But when it comes to mothering sons, it's more about the respect aspect. And I even said to my son, I said, "Oh, mommy loves you and whatever. But if you had to pick between love and respect, what would you pick?" And he said, "Well, I know you love me, but yeah, respect, mom."
Right.
And so it shows that even from a young age, boys are already into this respect
Respect, yeah.
and not so much the ego, but definitely the respect aspect. And what mums tend to do, we shower all the love and the attention and my baby and my prince and all of that. But do we necessarily show respect
Right.
to this young boy? And things like not announcing things all the time as
Yeah.
mothers do.
Right.
That's a sign of disrespect to a and you're agreeing. So, to a
It's
young boy,
true.
that's a level of disrespect. If my son doesn't say good morning, like he say good morning to me, because I say good morning to my husband, I'll be like, why didn't you say morning? But I didn't realize there was a little there was no
Right.
actual speech.
Right. Because
But there was a
differently.
response,
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
responds differently.
Right.
And they are cool with that. I'm like, "Can you just walk in here and not say good morning? And where's your manners?"
Right.
But that's not how
Right.
guys or boys interact with
Right.
other men.
Right.
It's a nod, as you said, or yeah, what you saying, and a nod of the head.
Yeah.
And we need to respect that. We
Yeah.
need to respect that we communicate differently. We need to respect that we engage differently in different behavior. It's not necessarily disrespect. It's just how boys do it.
Right.
And I think one of the things I would suggest for single moms is research about raising young boys. Look at the behaviors of young boys. If you're there on your own, look at the differences, because that makes a big difference. We want to
Yeah.
shout from the rooftops, "Oh, my son did this, my son." No, he don't want that.
Yeah,
You just tell him you're well done and respect him for that and kind of move on. So that is a major aspect, the respect aspect for
Yeah.
mothers and sons. We need to learn how to do that.
And I totally agree with that. And I was as we were saying that, I also thought of when, let's say, there's the single mom and her son, and the son realized that mom is an emotional person and he is different. Like, I don't get all this emotional like mom. So not having that male figure can confuse him, because he's trying to figure,
Yes.
okay, mom is this
Absolutely.
way, so how am I supposed to be?
Yeah.
And if I am this way, am I wrong in comparison with her? Which when another male is around, it, oh, cool, okay, it's cool. It's cool if I come in and just do a knock.
Right.
Or just say good morning,
Right.
or how are you today? Or you come in, what's up, man?
Yes.
Everything cool?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
You have that, and having that male person present will also lend to similar understanding in terms of behavioral patterns and stuff like that. And I totally believe that that's important, and that's one of the things that is needed when there's the mother-son dynamic and the additional mentoring person or environments and stuff like that. So I think that's very important, so that they know how to respond. Because if you are not taught by the kind or your kind to behave, or when I say behave, I mean in terms of your behavior, social behavior and stuff like that, then how do you know how to behave? It means that somebody has to teach you, and that person may not necessarily be the best choice, because then the rappers start to teach you, the whoever else start to teach you.
Game
And
and
you're like,
character.
okay, I want to be like this dude. But not necessarily that you want to be like this dude, it's just that's who's present in your space. That's who is showing you how to be, and so you have to be careful of that, so that boy knows how, like, it's cool if I don't talk for the next 3 hours. Whereas when you're talking to me, I have instances where mom, I have instances where mom says that he doesn't talk to me. How do I know that he is okay? Like, all he does is just sit there and there's no conversation coming from it. And I'm like, he's fine. How do you mean he's fine? I said, if something was wrong, you know, because most cases the son will drop on mom without saying anything.
It's true. It's true.
But when he's not saying anything, why your face like that? And I find that single mom annoys young boys like this. Why your face like that? why you like all the questions,
Yeah.
questions, and he's like, no, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, why were you sitting there so long and you haven't spoken for a while and you know you don't know if you're worried. But mom, I'm fine.
Respecting
So come here and say,
differences.
yeah.
There's a
And
difference.
having and I'm saying that to say that having the male and a male person in your space will say, okay, he doesn't talk much, so okay, so I'm not weird when I'm not speaking much, or I am not weird if I don't want to do confrontation, or I am not weird if I don't want to argue, and then, you know, all these kind of things. So he had something to compare himself with to, as opposing to, you know, like, oh, mom is totally different from me.
You just leave that door open.
Yeah.
You say, oh, if you're all right, that's fine. But if you're not, you know where I am. And
Yeah.
you leave it.
Right.
And just go.
Right.
You know what I mean? And leave him
Yeah.
there.
Because you can drive him nuts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yes,
can
yes, yes.
And like I said, I've seen moms drive their son nuts.
And we're supposed to be very good at reading body language and, you know, all these kind of micro messages that we talked about before.
Right.
Yeah.
But for some reason, when it comes to our children and sons, we kind of forget
Yeah.
all of
Everything,
that.
just go through that. But
You
you just
forget all
want to
of that. You
know.
want to make sure they're all right. But once they
Yeah.
say they're all right,
Yeah.
you just leave that door open.
And one of the things to consider is that the young boys is not necessarily going to express their feelings by words. They're going to do it by action. So when you can tell by a body language, or let's say they're accustomed running around outside a lot, you realize that has changed. There's no more running around. Then you can pay attention to what is going on versus asking questions, because his action is going to speak louder than words. You know, we quote that a lot.
Yes.
But for the male, it really does. Where like, you guys, you know, you will ask questions to figure out things. You can look at us and tell what's going on by what we do or do the lack of, you know. So if you're single moms, if you had a son and you realize that he doesn't like to shower, then you will know this child is depressed. You know, there's some sort of depression present, and
I can
and
hear
so
moms and say, no, it's just nasty.
It's nasty. Go bed. Go bed.
I can go bed. It smells
Yeah,
stink. I can hear mom say, no, he's just nasty.
Yeah.
But you know, they do go through that period where they just don't seem to like the shower. I don't know what it is.
And I think
why
it's
is
not
that?
right.
Can I ask that,
Why you
please?
don't like shower?
That's a good one.
But then you notice the difference when they've got a young lady that they might
Yeah.
interest in.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the shower, you can't get them out.
Because
Can't get them out
they
the
have
shower.
somebody to impress.
So yeah, so because they don't have no one to
Because if
impress,
they don't have someone to
but they don't
impress,
mind
it's
smelling.
like, why do it? Every smell bad, I smell bad all by myself.
Why do I hear that? Why
Yeah.
do I hear that?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
smell bad. I smell bad by myself.
Yeah,
I ain't
yeah.
going nowhere.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you're in the house with people.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
but it don't matter like that.
But we're not
Y'all
important.
know-
We're not that
it's-
important.
it's like,
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with y'all. Y'all know me.
You know me.
So
Yeah.
y'all know already. I can be clean, I can be musty.
Oh, you know that.
You know,
That's
you
fine.
know.
That's fine. I remember from my brother. I remember watching my brother. My brother was like, couldn't hit the shower, be in and out of the shower. He was like, you know, you didn't bathe. Go back and bathe and stuff like that. It was like, you know, my mum would be going up and feeding the wash. This is dry. and all those things.
Yeah.
And then the moment he kind of went up people and there was a young lady that he liked. Oh my gosh!
So let's start being there.
You'd be downstairs, you could smell the shower gel, you could smell the aftershave, you could
That's
like,
what they
what
impress.
happened?
Yeah.
Oh no, nothing. It's
Yeah.
like, no, something is up.
Something.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so I was like, wow, what a transformation.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely through actions.
And you know, as you all were talking, another important thing as a single mom, especially if you're raising a child to be a young man to be a gentleman, you need to study the developmental stages. So you not that you're going to pin him down to something specific, but you have an idea when you reach this age range, they're asking questions or they want to know what's the relevance and so on, so that bit by bit you can address, and also you know who to expose them to help them as they go on, you know. And then there are some moms, the other side of it. You are the sole person doing everything at home. You have to work. Sometimes you have to hold on 2 jobs, they have form level meeting or whatever, and you can't even get there, you have to ask another sister or whatever, what are you going to do? Are you going to feel guilty and what's not? You have to now devise some kind of coping mechanism where you actually create or frame moments when you can relax and spend time with the child. And that's why you find for some single moms they're almost in isolation, because from work to church, back to work, whatever have you. And then when they have a little spare time, they want to go out with the child, do something like that. So all these things can happen to mom, and is to remind her not to feel guilty, because you're a human being as well. But there's that opportunity where we can ask for help. Blessed are those who have families they can lean on.
Yeah.
When you go to work and you're working overtime, they can stay with granddad or grandmom. Bless. If you don't have that, if you have a close friend. But yeah, at some point you need to ask for help. I've seen and heard of moms who work themselves to sickness.
Your son,
And
No.
that's it.
And
That's it.
we have to, as people or as a person, come to the realization that we can't do everything, we're not good at everything, and we need help with some things. And this will be a prime example where a mother and a son, and mom knows that she needs that male input with her son's life, so that I mean, she may ask another male advice, or older male, some advice on son, like, why, how come this boy this, or how come this happened, and stuff like that, and be aware, as opposing to trying to drag the information out of the son, because I realize that the more questions you ask, the less the young man speak, and it kind of, and then you have those questions where, as you're going through puberty, where your body starts to change, or you may start to feel a particular way. What do you do with yourself? What is this happening? Here is growing places that have never grown before. Oh, I'm embarrassed by this. I can't tell mommy about this. I will hide when she's coming. But if I have that person, so here's growth. Here's grandma, and stuff like that. So it is important to have that male in the child's space. And it's necessary. One thing that I found, it may not, because sometimes we are focused on the role that dad plays, and we're going to refer to this particular subject, and we always think that if the son doesn't have a dad around, that's the end of him, and God cannot allow somebody else to be in his space. But God can allow somebody else to be in his space that who may do a better job than the father. Sorry to say, but that is very true. So like I say, you just need that solid male, to understand the importance of family, understand the importance of caring, being strong, but that doesn't mean that you share licks, hit a female. I think that all those things are lessons that are taught as the young man looks on at this person, seeing how he deals with other females, because that dynamic is also important. That a son sees how a male deals with other females. Respects another female. When if you like someone, the words that you use, it doesn't have to be something sexual to how you speak to somebody and stuff like that. I think that all those things are important because you are teaching or you're training the child for the future. You're either going to be somebody's daughter's nightmare or somebody's daughter's blessing, and we will prefer that you will be a blessing. So that's why I think the balance of the male-female dynamic is so important. It's no wonder God's intent was family, because having that family environment have saved a lot of persons from themselves, because the family dynamic was strong. Yeah. Let's take a short break. Time is going so fast. Our hour is almost up. But we are excited to be bringing this program to you this evening. Living Life God's Way. We're talking about the gentleman. This evening we are focusing on single moms raising sons. And when we come back, let's have some tips on that you ladies can use. Single moms raising sons. Please stay with us.
Welcome to Living Life God's Way. Real life, real talk, real hope. Every show. Join us every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. as we discuss topics relating to life, church, family, education, and so much more. Invite a friend, tag them even, but don't you dare miss the show. Living Life God's Way every Thursday at 6:30 p.m.
And we're back on Living Life God's Way. Thank you for joining us this evening. We had some fun outside of the show. Backstage, we had some fun there just now. We were talking about when a young man does what?
When, for me, I was concerned when my son was younger and was potty training him, and he used to sit down obviously on the potty to pass water. And I'd be like, oh, gosh, should I be teaching him to stand? Should he be sitting down on the potty? Should he be standing up? And I was just like, oh my God, I hope I'm not making a big mistake by, teaching him to use the potty in this way. But obviously, as they get older, you realize that it's just the best way to get them accustomed to using the toilet in terms of the shape of the toilet and so on. But, those are the kind of things that can happen because you don't know because you're not a boy. You're not male, so... so it really is important to not to kind of overanalyze certain things and just kind of go with the flow a little bit, or do research or ask a question. You said, get a man and ask a question.
That's a definite reality. It's very it's true. It's very true because you ladies can't teach him to stand and pass water.
I don't know.
Yep.
You have to use logic. Listen, go to the toilet. Aim there. When you
make an X in the toilet bowl or something. What are the things you can't, because I don't know. It's not for me to know.
It's not something that you've experienced.
Exactly. It's not for me to know. Wow. So it's those simple things sometimes that, can trip you up. Because I know a lot of them say, I don't want a son, I want a daughter. I don't know how to deal with a boy because I'm not a boy and, what have you. But,
That's very, very true. So let's talk about some of these tips. Who's going to give us this tip?
I've got some here.
A few? Okay.
Yeah. I've got a few here. So there was one, the first one was basically accept your son's differences, and I think we mentioned that about sort of communication and how boys differ from girls and what have you. We also mentioned never making the man around the house, so this the language we use, like, oh, that's my little man, and things like, oh, and we don't encourage people to say, oh, you're looking after mummy, and he's like 4, and it's like, well, what's that about? So putting this added pressure on this child, and it's like, look after her, but what do I do? How do I do that?
Right.
And we hear that a lot. We hear that a lot. There was one here about looking at, if you see, depending on the relationship you had with the father, obviously if the child looks very much like the father, ladies.
Yeah, boy.
If you had a good
Taking it
relationship,
out.
then that's all well and good. That's fine. But if you didn't have a great relationship and the child is the spit of him, really don't take it out on the child.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
child is still yours, still 50% yours, and
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with the relationship that you had with their father.
Yeah.
Point out positive qualities. Again, go back to that respect aspect, about the ego, kind of, massaging that a little, not to make them big-headed, but that's what they respond to best. So yeah, point out positive qualities, and what you were saying, Older Sherilyn, about pointing out things that a
Good
man might
qualities,
do
man.
in the street or at church or what have you. Look how he's
Yeah.
dressed, look how he's combed his hair, look
Right.
how he's helped that lady across the road. Those kind of positive qualities. Be creative. Boys tend to need a lot more stimulation. So where girls might be able to sit down in the corner and pick up a book or play with their dolly or whatever, boys, a lot more active and need to be doing stuff. So make sure that you can kind of be a bit creative with external stimulation. Boys groups, you mentioned about connecting with boys groups and other parents who have boys, for example. Teaching values, but let them express them uniquely. So, we obviously teach our children, but again, boys will see things differently, they'll express differently, so we have to, go back to that rule number 1 about accepting their differences, and they're not going to be like us, and we don't want them to be like us because they are boys.
Yeah.
But we can only teach them in the way that we know how.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important, again, going back to that role model. We talked about role models, we're not going to go back over that again, and I think that's it. Yeah.
Another area I think is very important as Christian moms, draw the boys' attention to Christ. Very important, where many times you'll see Jesus and spending time with God, praying, the way how he goes about, handling life. He will always seek the Father's wisdom, or even when he's about to work a miracle, he goes to the Father. There's a dialogue. So you want to teach them to have a relationship with their Heavenly Father, right? Because the physical earthly father may not be there, but then you draw them to the understanding that you have a Heavenly Father. That's where you're introducing them to God. And that's why it is so important. I remember a certain gentleman, he said, he used to force me to go to church, but I'm glad you did, because that's my reference now. So as a mom, it's our responsibility, a Christian mom especially, to expose that child. And even for those who may not call themselves Christian, they may have aunts or whoever that, go to church. Let them go to church. Let them hear about God, his goodness and his mercy, because they're actually seeing God enroll in that he's loving, he is kind, he's there for us. So we want to draw them to connect to God in a real way. Yeah, it's very important, because even when and where we fail, God can. They know who to go to. They know they can pray as well, and they know they can develop a connection with God and have him in their lives. It's very important. So yes, mom, that's important. Help them develop their faith. And not only that, I think we alluded to this, but we have to learn to be available emotionally, because sometimes, because of what we went through, especially if it is negative, or because of the amount of work that we're doing, it can just shut down when you reach home. But as you said, you make sure on your tag, even if you don't deal with everything right away, listen, I'm here for you, mommy loves you, you give them a hug or you tell them whatever. So if anything bothering you, I'm here for you. So, as you go through it, either give them a touch or you just lean on them, whatever have you. Just a little, make sure they know I'm here.
One of the things in this book, they were saying that because women tend to talk more than men.
Yeah.
No comments, Pastor. And so one of the things that he was saying is that, like, if your son is in his room just playing video games, for example, the computer's a big thing now.
Yeah.
Just go into the room and just sit down. Don't
Yeah.
say anything.
Yeah.
Just go. And he called it side by side.
Yeah.
And it's just being side by side with your son. And that, to him, watching, taking an interest in what he's doing, without giving instructions, without asking what is that, and
Right.
explain it to me. Don't do any of that. Just go in, and they'll probably tell me, I said, why you here? Like, they'll probably be a bit,
Yeah.
you know, a bit
Yeah.
strange, but they say, no, I'm just here, just watching, just looking, just spending time with you, you know,
Yeah.
whatever. So even that is just
Golden.
that. Yes,
It's
exactly.
golden,
Just
yeah.
golden, just to sit down. And I've done it with my son a couple of times. The first time he was like, he actually stopped the game. To give
It's
me something
weird.
else.
It's like, you really there?
What have I done? Am I not done? I'm no, I'm just
Yeah,
chilling.
yeah.
Oh, all right. And he kind of went back, and you know, by the second or third time I've done it, he's absolutely fine. It's like, yeah, you can kind of see a little smile on the side of his
Yeah.
mouth, and
Yeah.
you know, stuff like that. So, you know, it's just learning the difference. With obviously with a girl, you probably want to go in, you're going to sit down, you're going to talk, you're going to play the hair and do an activity. But with boys, it's just being present
Being there.
and just knowing that you're side by side, as he calls it,
Yeah.
Wow.
is golden.
Yes.
You don't have to say anything. There's no energy expelled. There's nothing. Just sit quietly, you know,
But that's
watching
what they
him.
do. That's what they do. Sometimes you're in your room and they will just open the door, look at you, smile, and
run.
go.
Mhm.
Or they'll
Checking
look
to
at
make
you,
sure you're
there.
and
Yeah.
you just give
Yeah.
them a
Yeah.
hug, and they give you a hug, and that's it, and
Yeah.
they go.
They're
And
gone.
sometimes that's just
Yeah.
the same thing what they need.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You
That's
just
what
go
I
and
mean.
look, you all right? Yeah.
My son said to me, I just, when you coming home? I'm like, but when I'm home, you don't speak to me, you don't do
That's
nothing.
it.
Well, what? Yeah, but I just know you're home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just know you're there.
I'm
You're
feeling-
safe,
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's it. Yeah. You
Just
know,
not
so,
there
and
available.
that's a boy. You know, so
Yeah.
you just have to kind of work with it. It's very different, but it is what it is.
Yeah. So
But-
true.
And another thing too, Peter, another thing I remember reading is talking about teaching the son how to negotiate when there are problems, when there are difficulties. You know, because sometimes, you know, a guy might just, well, we talked about that, might just shut down and stay quiet. But then, you know, teach you how to look at things that happen, situations that happen, and how to make the best, you know, decision on it. It might not be a big and a deep conversation, but just simple. Okay, I don't want to go to school. All right. So why don't you want to go to school? I don't feel like going to school, but so all right. But based on what it is, you're supposed to go here and there. So should we do this or should we do that? What's going to happen? What's the consequences? Which is better? So simple things.
Our problems of giving them the option
Yeah.
to make the choice.
Yeah.
It's, well, within reason.
Within, but you know,
Yeah.
But yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Very, very true. And I also want to add that
Mhm.
I think it's important to allow the boys to be among their peers.
Mhm.
I think that
It's true.
sometimes single moms can have their sons in the bedroom with them all the time, watching TV, or in the house all the time, watching TV.
Mhm.
It's just true. It's not healthy
Mhm.
for him to do that. He needs to be with his peers.
Yeah.
You know, go outside and get help, fix the car, go wash the car,
Yeah.
or stuff, or you know,
Do
friends
something.
of friends, or do you have a friend at school?
Yeah.
You want me to take you guys to the movie?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I'll take you guys to the movie and I'll just walk around the ball.
Yes, yes.
Because you need to have that going on in his son's life. It is dangerous
Socializing.
for him to be just in a space with his mom all of the time,
Mhm.
because then there's a world out
Oh,
there
yeah,
that
you're
you're not
there,
aware of.
yeah.
And when you have to go out in the world of work, when
Mhm.
you have to go to college, then you have no social skills
Mm,
and how to deal with the persons. Like,
mhm.
so how do I talk to somebody I've never seen yet?
Yeah.
How do I relate to the people on the bus? How do I go
Start a
downtown
conversation.
and
Mm.
start a healthy conversation with
Mm.
somebody that I've never seen?
Mm.
How do I fit in now with a strain? Because all this is a reality. And I remember this is father-daughter now. When I was growing up, my daughter realized that she wasn't good with mixing with people. She was
Yeah.
more reserved, didn't want anybody around, wanted to be alone. And I had to quickly, we gotta start taking her out and
Mm.
let her start mixing with people and stuff like that
Definitely.
to improve her social skill. And it worked,
Mhm.
She's still introverted now, but
Yeah.
it worked because she can still talk with people. Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying, so, you know, how do you tell him that? You know,
Just illustrate. It's a man. You
Yeah.
can illustrate.
you have to wait until you finish, you know. Hey, listen.
Yeah.
They say the moms say apple don't fall too
From
far
up
from
on
the
the
tree.
tree.
I don't know how to say it to the men.
Same
but-
thing. Apple and
Same.
from it still is apple.
So,
Yeah.
Still is apple.
but yes, I think that I think that it's really important
Yeah,
to
yeah.
have that social dynamic check. And,
Yeah.
and if you look at your children, and I know that children are into a lot of games now.
Mm.
And they talk to
Yeah.
persons all over the world and
Yeah.
so on. But the reality is, you still have to go out and mix.
And that's
Yeah,
where they're
yeah,
struggling
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
They're struggling.
Yeah.
They can talk to people all
Yeah.
over the world
But
behind the screen.
Yeah,
But when you say to them, all right, we're going out and you can go to shop, can you ask for so and so?
Yeah.
Oh, no. So you are, no, you need
Yeah.
to. They don't have those social
Yeah.
skills.
so even saying simple things like when my son, when I speak with him, my 16-year-old, I speak to him, I'm like, when you're speaking, open your mouth that I
And
can hear.
Project.
And when somebody's talking to you, look them in the face. Don't be looking at the ground, looking in the sky, looking around. Who are you talking to? Are you looking for Jesus? Look persons in the eye, because it helps them to be bold
Yeah,
as a man as well. And yes, and I encourage confidence, because if you don't, then you realize that your son don't like to talk to people, and you can't live in the world and not talk to people.
Yeah.
You know, and when they're around people, they're like shell.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
they're so like, oh, this is a strange place. What do I do here?
Yeah.
Shut up.
You know,
Yeah.
I
But
think
does
that
eye contact for men sometimes mean or can incite confrontation? Is that why some men don't like to make eye contact?
I think that it's a measure of the lack of self-confidence, and also missing the importance of eye contact. For example, if when you look at someone, you gain their respect when conversation is going on, because it's like, I'm chatting with you, look at me, or we're exchanging words. You can look off, you can have self and stuff like that,
You
because
don't stay
it would
there.
be weird to be, yes, what's going on? You're staring somebody like that. But the importance of eye contact says that you are part of what's going on before you. So that's also very important. And you're going into a world where voice projection and also says to someone, you are not, you know what you're about.
Yeah.
Because if not, then you miss. Persons will take advantage of you then, and
Yeah.
you will hear stuff like, I'm being bullied, or you will hear stuff like nobody takes me seriously,
Miss
or nobody
opportunities.
listened to me, and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that you ladies can't impact that, but when a male is part of that dynamic, then it helps that boy to put himself in a place where he recognizes, okay,
Yeah.
so men speak firm, so that when he goes and get married now, and his wife says, honey, I can't understand why you didn't fix the sink. And he goes, the sink, I don't know how to fix the sink. And that would drive that woman crazy. So I that's very.
That'd be awful.
But
That'd be awful.
I've seen guys who are married now because of the lack of a male presence don't know how to treat their wives, or don't know how to be a man. So you go now, you marry with a strong woman, and then this lady, as strong as she is, still need leadership, and you can't offer it
Definitely.
because you never knew that leadership was not, baby, bring this to me, baby, do that for me, you need to do this to me. That's not it. It was no, right? So then the lack of being taught, persons have resorted to the thing, and I think all of this contributes to where men hit women, where they were not taught that if I can express myself this way by speaking, or I can be firm in speaking, versus, I thought you saw me, she was here. Brat! Dude.
That's what they've seen about.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so out of time.
Yes.
But we have had a good discussion, haven't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we hope that you have been educated, and we hope that you have been enlightened of what has been shared, and your eyes have been open as well. May the eyes of your understanding be enlightened. So we were talking about ladies raising sons, single moms raising sons, and we were talking about the dynamic, and we were talking about some of the issues and some of the positives and the things that you ladies can do to help your son be a man as he grows into manhood. One of the things that we really stressed on is it's good to have that male presence around. Not necessarily that you appoint somebody to do it, but he's in the space where the strong male is present. So we want to thank you for joining us. From all of us here at Living Life God's Way, we hope you have been blessed and encouraged, and that you will share the live stream with someone and help that person. If you know a mom who's raising their son all by herself, send her this, and hopefully this will be some encouragement and some advice for her. Ladies?
For me, I think you said it all, Pastor. I really think you really said it all. But my only thing is the whole respect thing. Really
Right.
try to respect your sons.
Mhm.
Do a little bit of research on how you can show that respect. The love is important, but boys really do value respect. So
Elder?
And for me, one important factor is prayer. Make everything a matter of prayer too. So you ask God for wisdom to expose you to. You pray, ask God to bring the right people into your life. You pray and you ask God to give you patience so that you can be a good mom to your son. You pray and ask God to help you in every stage of it. Invite God in the scenario. With Him, all things are possible. That's what I would say.
All right. So, on behalf of the three of us and all those who are involved, the technical crew, and those behind the scenes, those that have been sharing the live stream, and those who have been commenting and stuff, Dr. Pepe, thank you for passing through, and everybody else who would have shared their thoughts, and Reverend Peter as well for passing through, and all those who have shared their thoughts with us. So, on behalf of all of us at Living Life God's Way, we love you, and have a good Thursday night. We'll see you next week for another exciting discussion. Bye for now.
Bye.
Welcome to Living Life God's Way. Real life, real talk, real hope. Every show. Join us every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. as we discuss topics relating to life, church, family, education, and so much more. Invite a friend. Tag them even. But don't you dare miss the show. Living Life God's Way every Thursday at 6:30 p.m.